Everybody, yes, I'm just having my coffee and this was totally unplanned because I have to go to class, but there is a cute discussion started by Book Riot and taken by Nancy Reed and Rincy Reed about what it means to be well-read, what is the definition, what is your understanding of this, and if there is such thing as well-read people. And I thought that this topic was so cool because I had this discussion with my parents very often, because my parents, especially my father, considers my generation to be not well read because we have all this technology in the area of high-speed information. We have no memory of what we are reading. So basically he was asking me some information and I was looking it up on Google. Then after 2 days he asked me again and I couldn't remember. So he said, you see, you are not well read. In his times, to be well read meant to have a lot of knowledge about things. To know something meant you had to go to the library, to read about it, and to remember it, to be able to reproduce it to your friends and your family and to use that information. So was in his time, to be well read meant to be well informed about the politics, history, about your job. My father's an engineer, so he always had to read more about his job. And I said, times have changed, you don't have to read a book to be well informed, you could just go online. And he said the difference is that back then, or in the earlier times when I was a child, to be informed meant you had to make a conscious effort to read things that not everybody wanted to do, not everybody wants to read, and this differentiates you from other people. So if you do make this conscious effort of reading, going and picking up that information, be it a journal or a magazine or a newspaper or a book, meant that you have more control and you are willing to be educated and to be informed. So that was my father's or my parents' definition of well-read. And back then I was at the university and I was very offended that they considered me not well-read. I said, I'm in a controlled academic environment, don't you think that I fit this definition? And so my parents said that you can never declare yourself well-read. It has to be people around you that see traits of you and consider you well-read. So basically they told me that I'm quite arrogant. And second, in the academic world, you are mostly focused on what you're studying. So if you are reading about literature because your classes are focused on literature, doesn't mean you are well read. It means that you're a good student. Basically, in my parents' definition, even when I was a student in an academic world, I was not well read. Well, I was arguing with them and finally we reached the conclusion that because you are studying and you're making this effort of educating and getting yourself more educated and more informed, well, means that you are well read. And finally, going back to the girls' video, they said that to be well read meant somebody that reads more diverse, more openly, and basically Nancy made this image of the universal person, universal man, like Da Vinci wanted, somebody that is aware not only of his small village or small city, but somebody that is aware of the whole world, knows a language or reads about other cultures, other languages, or oh my god, I'm rambling. So Nancy has this universal man definition of a well-read person, and she declares herself not, like, she is working towards that. And I would like to argue with that, because if you're already making an effort to read, an intellectual effort to read, if you're already, your friends or the people that know you consider you well-read, and I consider you well-read, you can relax. Continue with the good work, but relax. I mean, you are a well-read, intelligent woman. And going back to my parents' definition, or to the old definition of well-read in the Eastern society, was if you do this effort of reading, of consciously going in and reading, retaining that information, using that information. For example, if you're talking to somebody, you can quote some author, usually there are classics, but you can quote somebody from the newspaper saying, you see what he did, or you see what, I don't know, Charles de Gaulle wants to do about the Europe. So there were 3 levels to be informed, to make this effort and to use that information. That those 3 elements made you part of the intelligentsia, made you part of the, I don't know, intelligent class, and you were by default a well-read person. Of course, times has changed. I mean, I don't think that all these 3 apply, but I do think that historically they had a really good basis and they had a good explanation of what a well-read person was supposed to be. At this time, I think that well-read is going down as a definition, and I think that it's more of, well, being aware, being informed, because it's not necessarily enough to read a book to understand what the book is about. After I've read the book, I went online, I talked with my friends about it, and then I understood much more about what the book is actually about or what it symbolizes. So at this point, I think that those 3 things are not enough. It must be added the 4th thing, which means to be aware, to understand it, and to see your own understanding of that book or of that thought. So it actually went up. And the 5th, I think I just agree with Nancy and Rincy that you have to read more diverse and to be aware of what's happening around you. So basically I added the 2 that the girls mentioned to the 3 definitions that my parents already had discussed. And I think that's all. That was my 2 cents. Let me know what you think about well-read. I'm gonna go to class and see you later. Bye.